Hello everyone and happy Feel Good Friday. For today's Feel Good Friday video, we are going to go over very good memories of video gaming past. So basically what I mean by that is just basically going over those nice, wholesome, and special memories that I have when it comes to video games. Now, if you follow me, I'm going to assume that you guys like video games because I talk about video games a lot. So should be right up our alley. I'm going to try and do this with no cuts. Actually, I kind of just want to do like one, self-contained focused rant. And it is a little bit hard because the filmmaker in me immediately wants to do cuts and, wants to cut this up and edit it and make it look all good. But, I think this is one of those topics where I want to speak from the heart. And, I might be stumbling over my words a little bit, but I really want to kind of, just talk about how I feel because video gaming is very special for me. Now, I think one of the reasons why it's a very special thing for me is because that was something where me and my brother very much bonded over. So the first game that I really got into was Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, where me and my brother were just absolutely obsessed by this game. So I remember when I was coming up of age and getting into my gaming, lifestyle, if you will, I came up on games like Mario and Crash Bandicoot, and that was pretty much what the early to mid 90s was just basically these platformers that are fairly weak on story, but have amazing gameplay, very fun, and it's just a nice chill and relaxing time. Well, then Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time came out, and it completely changed my world. Me and my brother were absolutely obsessed with this game. We got super into the lore. I mean, as you can see, I have the poster right over there. And I remember I would go to my school and I would talk to my friends about it and be like, hey man, what'd you do for this level? Whenever we'd get stuck, we would all brainstorm about it. Then I'd come back home with my brother and he'd always be like, a level or two ahead of me. And I'd be seeing what's going on. And that was like the first video game universe where we really just got invested into the lore of this story. And that was a really special thing. And, it was the first of many universes that I really dived into. The next one was Halo. Halo was, I think, the next big universe where I was like, I want to be just every piece involved in this. I started reading the books, and I wasn't really a big reader back then. Ironically, since I'm a writer, I didn't realize that I had ADHD from a very young age, and so it was very hard for me to sit down and focus on something. So reading was not necessarily my favorite thing to do. I would read, but it's just like, it wasn't something that I wanted to do for fun. And then I started reading books like Halo: The Fall of Reach, and I just got immediately invested into that world, and it made me want to read. And hey, I still read Halo books to this day, so... Not much has changed from my childhood, apparently. But we were obsessed. It was similar to Ocarina of Time, but it was so influential on us. And it was something where me and my brother both were really into writing from a very early age. And I knew that I wanted to make movies. I think since I was about 5 years old, probably 4. So when we got into this game, we immediately were starting to want to create our own science fiction video game, that we could go ahead and make into like this story, whether it was a video game, book, or movie. We just wanted to do something that was kind of like Halo. And, obviously what came out, we're both kids, so it was this derivative mess that would absolutely have gotten us sued for copyright issues probably, but... But it was very influential into how we wanted to tell storytelling and all that. And, we would get the magazines and be reading those for, anticipating when Halo 2 was going to come out. But the cool thing about that game was the co-op. You see, the games that we grew up on, and I'm not sure if there were a lot of other games out there at all that had co-op options, but... the games that we grew up on, especially, were not co-op. Some would have split screen. So we had GoldenEye and, a couple of those other types of games. You had Star Fox 64, which did have like a head-to-head. And those were fun, but we were always against each other. With Halo, it was finally this bonding moment where we got to come together and actually now have to work on the same team and do problem solving together and have this one objective that we're working with each other to accomplish. And I think that right there, I mean, I know it's weird to say, but that right there is something that I think very heavily just stitched that amazing bond that me and my brother had back when we were kids. Now, unfortunately, me and my brother don't talk anymore, but and I think that's also too why those early memories with Halo are so special to me. You see, my brother was my best friend back when I was a kid. He, in many respects, was more of a dad than my actual dad. I've talked about how I grew up in an abusive home, and my brother was somebody who kind of stepped up as the person who was trying to look after us kids. So me and him were very, very close, and I'm not going to go and get into what's caused a rift, because that's between me and him, but long story short, we don't talk anymore, and I do look back at those memories where we would be doing co-op on Halo Combat Evolved to try and complete the mission as some of the best memories that I have in my childhood. And there were so many just funny, stupid problem-solving moments when we were kids. So I remember, I think we were trying to do Legendary at one point, and I don't think we ever even got through the campaign on Legendary as co-op. We're still early in our gaming, our gaming time, our gaming career, if you will. And so we're doing mostly like easy and normal runs instead of, say, heroic or legendary. But I remember it was the last level of the Maw. I think we tried it on a higher difficulty, and it's right before you get into the cafeteria where there's 2 hunters, there's fuel rod cannon grunts, and just a bunch of black elites, right? And I remember I had this bright idea to basically just be like, hey, Ryan, like, chuck a plasma grenade at me, like a sticky grenade, and then I'll just go running in there and take out as many as I can. This was either right before 9/11 or right afterward. It was not in the time where the U.S. had invaded Iraq and certain terrorists were doing certain things of guerrilla warfare. So, I want to say I was a bit of an innovator in that route. And this is why I get worried about not editing because of jokes like that. But no, man, it was really cool to have to work together in that game, and it was something that we got to experience together. And I talked about this in a previous video, and I'm sure I'll talk about it again. But one of my favorite gaming moments was from Halo with me and my brother. My brother was he was always the one who was in charge as far as, what the plan was and all that. At the time, my brother was the, better gamer in the household. And so he decided that he wanted to be the driver and I had to be the gunner. And my destructive, chaos-loving side, I was not necessarily opposed to that idea, but I did want to drive the Warthog. It seemed like a lot of fun, which is incredibly ironic because I have a lot of anxieties around driving in real life. Who would have known? So it wasn't until the Maw we got stuck on the Warthog race, and we just could not get past it, right? And I think it was 3 or 4 days where we were like trying to come up with strategies on how to get through it. And I kept asking my brother, like, hey, can I drive? Can I give it a shot? And he's like, no, like, I'm the better driver. So like, you're better on the guns. Like, we got a good setup there, but like, we got to figure something else out. And finally, like day 3 or 4, I break through my brother's stubbornness and he's like, okay, you go ahead and drive. I'm like, all right. And first attempt, I was able to get through it. And that was a really awesome feeling, man. Like, you know, it was where I got to step up as the gamer. I got to, you know, basically be that guy that brought us home. It's the last section of the last level. I beat us the game, you know, but that's not the thing that really made that memory special. I think a lot of people's older brothers, you know, there's that sibling rivalry. And I think a lot of people in that moment could have possibly have had an older brother who, you know, gets mad, you know, is a bit insecure that his little brother, you know, one-upped him on a game. Because my brother was always the person that I would go to be like, hey, can you beat this level for me, right? Like, you know, I went up to him like, hey, I'm stuck on the water temple. Like, I need you to do this. Hey, I need help saving Lance in Vice City. I need you to do this. And, but that was the moment where I finally got to be the guy. And like I said, I think there'd be a lot of older brothers who just kind of be maybe put off by that, right? Like, you know, it's a humbling moment. My brother gave me this look like he was incredibly proud of me. And, you know, I don't know how it is for you guys, but my relationship with my brother when I was growing up was like, I just thought the world of him. He was my best friend. He was my hero. And, you know, I looked up to him so much. And all I ever wanted was to just make him proud of me. You know, I couldn't make my parents proud of me, so so I might as well try to go after my brother. And that was just a really cool moment. And I'm pretty sure he said that he was proud of me. If he didn't say it, I do remember he, like, you know, patted me on the back and all that. It was just kind of like, you know, did good, right? So that was a really special moment. And, you know, he ended up going into the military. He went to war. So video games with him are obviously not the same as it used to be. The last Halo that we played was Halo 4. And it just wasn't the same feeling. And that was really sad for me, unfortunately. Luckily, I have you know, a couple other friends who I also very deeply bonded over Halo with, so I still get to have that experience. And my fiance now too, I've gotten her. She's not super into Halo, but it's more of, she just doesn't really like FPSs, but she does enjoy the story to it. So it's cool because I get to experience the newer Halo games even with her, and that's been really nice. But speaking of which, as far as other wholesome moments, is my experiences playing video games with my fiance, Laura. She's a huge gamer. So this psychopath 100% did Dark Souls 3. Absolutely loves Dark Souls. I don't understand you psychos out there who love that game. I'm trying. I get it. I'm getting through it. Okay, so my issues with Dark Souls is that, number one, I don't like that I have to go out of the way to find what the story is, right? I'm a guy who I likes my video games presented to me in a movie fashion. You know, like, okay, all right, here's the story that you're given, and then you can be interactive with that story. I don't want to go out and have to find the story, all right? I want it to already be a thing. And then also too, yeah, I mean, like, you know, I understand that I'm a wuss about this one, but I mean, like, you know, it's frustratingly hard, and it's not something that I want to, you know, get into when it's causing my blood pressure to go up high. And I know that's hypocritical because I play Halo 2 on Legendary, and that game is legitimately broken. So I'm very conflicted when it comes to Dark Souls, but I do enjoy watching her play and watching how into these games she gets, because it just kind of reinforces that passion that both of us have for gaming. And I just, you know, that's been something that I've been able to not only share, not only bond over, but something that I've just been able to really, really enjoy watching her play these games. Like, she'll get super into A Link to the Past. She'll get really, really into Dark Souls. And it's so crazy to me because, like, I will rage with if a Dark Souls, there's moments in Dark Souls we can all agree where you know, the reason why you get killed in that is kind of unfair. Camera placement, or just you get stuck somewhere, right? It happens. But for me, I get very annoyed when it comes to video game deaths that are not fair. Now, 99% of the time, it's on me, but there have definitely been a couple times in Dark Souls where it's just like, what was that? And I'll see that with her. She is just super calm. I was just like, you have the patience of a saint. And then another one that I really wanted to go over to was there's two more games that I want to talk about in this video, and I'm trying to keep it a little bit short. We're already at about 15 minutes. The long forms that I've been trying to do lately, I've been trying to keep around like 7 to 9 minutes for retention reasons. So guys, if you've made it this far, please make it to the end. Also, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you've made it this far, because if you've made it this far, I assume you like the video. I hope you do, at least. Also, hit that bell notification button so you're reminded of any time I do these weird ramblings. But the two other games that I want to talk about, first one is Life is Strange. Life is Strange was such a unique experience for me as a gamer. So I remember when I found out what Life is Strange was, I was working at Target, actually where I met my fiance. I was working at Target, and there was this guy who I was working with, Tim. And, you know, we would talk here and there. We would, you know, kind of chill when we're zoning the electronics and toys area. And, you know, I got to know him as a very emotional guy. And I like to think of myself as an emotional guy too. I feel things very deeply, right? But Tim, there was a couple times where I was just kind of like, all right, you know, he gets easily moved, and that's fine. He was the type of guy that the best way I could describe this was like, you remember the character from American Beauty who starts crying at a plastic bag floating through the wind? That's kind of like what Tim was. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, when he's recommending something and he's saying that he was moved by something, that's when I'm going to be like, you know, I don't know if it's going to be the same thing for him as it is for me. So he was talking about Life is Strange, and he's like, you ever play this game? I was like, no, I've never heard of it. What is it? And he's like, oh my gosh, dude, Life is Strange wrecked me, bro. Like, you gotta play it. I was like, okay, Tim. Like, all right, yeah, sure. All right, I'm sure it'll be a fun experience. So you know, I think I was told that it was kind of like the Telltale games where you know, choose your own dialogue. Every choice that you make has repercussions throughout the stories. And originally, I never thought that I would be into those games. And then one of my friends who I really trust as far as his taste in gaming, he was like, dude, you got to play Wolf Among Us. You know, like it might not be your thing, that style, but trust me, it's a really, really good game. I did. It was absolutely great. So I was willing to take a chance on Life is Strange. I wasn't completely sold, I think, with that type of gameplay yet. I love those now, but I think I was still very early on because I was, you know, I come from, you know, a FPS or you know, like RPG or Grand Theft Auto type games. So when it's just basically I'm just picking choices, originally it kind of felt like, what are we doing there? I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of action to do there. So Life is Strange, I think, was like about the second game in that area that I was going to go ahead and play. So you know, like I said, not completely sold on that genre of video games yet. So I think it was Black Friday. I saw Life is Strange was listed for like $5. So I was just like, why not? So I bought it and kept it in my library for a while, right? A good few months, just never touched it, as I've done with so many video games. Do you guys do that as well? Do you have a video game that's just been sitting in your library that you do want to play eventually, but like you just never get around to it. Maybe it's harder for you to get into new video games lately. I don't know. That's kind of been a thing with me. But for some reason, I decided, all right, I'm going to give this game a shot. And, I start playing it, and immediately I'm just kind of like, okay, so I'm an 18-year-old hipster girl who's still in high school. I don't think I'm going to be relating to this character much. And I want to say 30 minutes into it, I was like, okay, this game is not screwing around. It immediately captured me on some of the most emotional levels that I've ever been in a video game. Now, I have cried at video games before. I think the first video game that I ever cried to was, weirdly enough, Gears of War 2, the frat bro type of game. Like those guys with the roided up muscles, or just, like you really just kind of picture them saying brother way too much. Like that is the game where I remember frat dudes love that game. Nothing against Gears of War. I love that game. But I did not expect it to make me cry when Dom finds Maria. That absolutely was something that deeply moved me. Moments in Halo definitely got me. But and I think I played Life is Strange after Halo 4, and Halo 4, a certain character who dies in that game, I legitimately felt like I lost somebody that I knew in my day-to-day life. That's a story for later. But Life is Strange, I was very connected. I related so much to so many of these characters that I didn't think that I would, especially the character of Chloe. This person who felt just unloved and just was very chaotic and acting out. And there was so much to her, the self-destruction with that character, that I just identified very strongly with, and it brought up a lot of issues that I was currently going through, and that I had struggled with in my childhood. But then, there are so many parts that I just was like, like you have to talk somebody down literally off a ledge, and I was just like, I'm not emotionally equipped to handle that at all, like in real life or a video game. Like, no. What do I do? And the first time that I played that game, I did not say the right stuff, and they jumped, and I legitimately felt guilty. And I remember after that game session ended, I was in bed feeling like I let someone down, feeling like I had just failed some poor innocent family, right? Like, oh, they just lost their little girl because of me. Like it was real life. It was so crazy. And then halfway through, there is an awful choice that you're given with, where one of the characters, asks you to put them out of their misery. And I just started sobbing. And I legitimately, it's a video game. I knew how that choice was probably going to, like how both of those were probably going to end, right? Like what the result of those were. And I still just could not grant that request, because I was so just stricken with all of these different feelings of guilt, of shame, of, I didn't know how to feel. And that was so crazy. And by the end of that game, with the big choice at the end, I literally remember putting my controller down and just like, I didn't cry immediately, which was crazy. It was like this breath that I had to take. And then, I was just like, I want to take a walk. And I started to take a walk, and I just started crying. Yeah, man. And that's an experience that, like, every time that I play Life is Strange, I still cry. But it's just like, I can't play that game a bunch because I don't want that feeling to go away. I want to be moved that way every time I play it, so I can't play it a bunch. Otherwise, it's gonna numb that feeling. It's a great game. I've gotten the pleasure of meeting a couple of the voice actors for Life is Strange. I'm actually one of them. I'm friends with on Instagram, Katie Bentz. Everybody needs to go and follow her. She's absolutely amazing. But yeah, no, those are great games. I highly recommend them. But the last story that I want to share is, of course, Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 came at a very, very interesting time in my life. It was, what was it, 2018? So at that period in time, I'm in my mid 20s, and I was going through a lot of changes in my life, and I always loved gaming, but it was harder for me to get into gaming more. Whether it was just basically was not used to how my life had changed, and the fact of how little time I had now for myself at all. So it's hard to set some time to go ahead and play a game. But also too, it was just like, my ADHD was seemingly getting worse. And unfortunately, I didn't know that I had it yet. And so it was really hard for me to sit down and invest in a new video game. I would usually just basically, I remember going through my library going like, all right, which game do we want to play now? And I get so overwhelmed by the choices that I have that I don't end up playing anything, or I just go back to Halo, or I go back to just a comfort game that I've played, for years and years and years, or just end up going on like a marathon of NHL games, which there's no story for the NHL games. And my San Jose Sharks have won the cup like 10 years in a row in my general manager mode. So what's the point of doing that as opposed to a new game? But it's just because of the fact that I just get so overwhelmed by the idea of starting something new. And I hadn't gotten really excited about a new release for a long time, not like the way that I was back as a kid. See, back when you were a kid, when I was growing up, back in the 90s, we didn't have everything that was digital. I sound so old right now. Back in my day, we didn't have these new digitals that all of you kids have. No, for me, yeah, no, we really didn't have like something that you could just download to your Xbox. So we'd have to get up, go out to the mall, and you get one video game, right? And me and my brother, we had to decide on which one are we gonna pick, which one do we agree on, and so that was a whole thing. Like there was a ceremony behind it, pretty much. There was so much thought that went into it, so much anticipation. I remember we would look up the games that are coming out on IGN and be like, oh my God, I can't wait for that game. I can't wait for that game. That's going to be so great. That's going to be awesome. And we'd be just fixated on one game for months. And then we finally go to the GameStop and we pick out the game. And then on the way back, we got to, one of us would look at the back of the box. We just stare at the back of the box, hoping that there would be something that changes on the back of the box while we're looking at the pictures and reading it. And then the other person got to read the manual, right? And they have more to read. So obviously you wish that you could read the manual because that's almost like the game is starting. But if you weren't reading the manual, you just basically had to just stare at the back of the game going trying to draw opinions from the 3 pictures that it has on the box, and then the small little blurb. So you're kind of creating your own anticipations and expectations from that. And it was this whole entire really cool thing, but gaming is not like that anymore. And I don't want to sound like a broken record because I understand with every generation has its own culture that is very exciting. And every generation looks back to their childhood as oh, that was the best childhood, because those types of moments are incredibly special. So Gen Z obviously has moments that are like that for them, that give them the same type of feelings and reactions as I had, but just in a very different way. And there's, it sucks that that Gen Z and on isn't going to experience those really cool memories that I got to experience, but it also sucks that I don't get to experience some of the cool memories that they get to experience. So as you grow, things start to change around you, like how you perceive the rest of the world, your hobbies, your likes. A lot of stuff starts to change. And I remember I really started getting kind of sad that I wasn't as into video games anymore, or so I thought. And I just didn't feel like I had the time to, and I felt like it was just harder to enjoy that hobby. And then Red Dead Redemption 2 came out. Red Dead 1 was something that I had loved so deeply, so dearly. I remember really getting into that world. That was right around the time too that my brother had gone to Afghanistan. And I think throwing myself into that game was a good way of just trying to keep my mind off of potential bad stuff that could have happened. And so I really, really loved Red Dead Redemption 1. And I was, that was another game that I was just very deeply connected to that story. So when Red Dead 2 was coming out, that was something that in my adult life, I was like, I cannot wait. Cannot wait for this game. I was researching it, just counting down the days, right? But I worked at Target, so I was poor. Um, so that game comes out, and it's me and my roommate at the time, my buddy Drew. And, this guy I considered like another brother as well. He had his pre-ordered because he's a responsible adult, unlike me. And he also had credit cards. I did not. So I had to buy it with real money. So we go out to GameStop for the release, and he gets his PS4 version of Red Dead 2. That bastard. I'm an Xbox fanboy, we come back to to our place, and we turn off all the lights. We just get in front of the TV, and we're just like eating cookies and crackers and chips. And I'm just watching him play, and I'm watching the opening cinematics, and I remember thinking, "Holy crap! Like this is going to be something special. This is going to be a really, really good game." I went out, bought the game, I think like the next day or two. I was just like, all right, yeah, I'll probably be down to like $10 in my bank account, but I feel like this is worth it. And it was. Red Dead Redemption 2 has fundamentally changed my life in such a weird way. I've gotten so much success by doing Red Dead Redemption 2 sketches on all these platforms. And a lot of them have gone viral, and I've ended up being able to, converse and meet so much of the actual cast to Red Dead Redemption 2. Roger Clark follows me on one of these platforms. I don't want to say which, because I feel like I can get in trouble by saying a different platform than this one. But yeah, no, I've gotten to talk to the actor for Micah as well. And I think Bill Williamson is actually going to be at a convention near me pretty soon. And I've been able to build a whole entire community and fan base around that topic. It's something that I've been having a lot of fun with. It's something that I'm very passionate about, that game, that story. And the cool thing about all these games, too, that I've listed, Red Dead 2, Halo, Life is Strange, Ocarina of Time, they all teach such important lessons. With Ocarina of Time, it really does kind of teach you that your childhood ends just super quick, just way too quickly. And that 1 second you're this kid, just a bright future ahead of you. You got all these friends, you got all these just great things to look forward to. And then the next minute you're an adult and things are a lot darker and there's a lot more struggles and there's not as many people around you as there used to be. And it teaches you how to overcome that very big challenge of growing up. Halo just absolutely drives into your head the whole entire theme of hope and believe and overcoming the odds. And what is it to be a human? And that's something that I still think about today. What is it to be a human? What is it to be a man in this day and age? You know, and I think that's a bit more of something that I think of because of the childhood that I got raised in, and I had such failures of parents that had just taught me just so many wrong behaviors. So then I am always questioning, like, what is it to be you know, a human, a man in this day and age, you know? Life is Strange was just something that really, you know, talked about abuse and the dangers of it, the effects of abuse and all that. And that's something obviously that hits home with me very, very deeply. And then Red Dead Redemption 2, the theme of it's never too late to redeem yourself. And even the biggest of bastards can become good men. And these are all themes that are very prevalent with what we face in today's day and age and what we face in life in general. And these are themes that matter. These are themes that are important. And I just really loved connecting to these games in this way. So let me know your wholesome moments in gaming, those special memories that you have. I know this was a long video. So like I said, with my long form that I've been doing, which by the way, guys, if you do like my long form videos, I've been trying to do those daily. I've been trying to challenge myself and release one long form video a day. It is harder to do than, say, my shorts. So if you guys want to help me out, definitely watching these videos all the way through to helps. They're usually around 6 to 8 minutes and not 40 like this video is. But I release them every day at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So definitely, you know, if you want to help out the channel, if you want to help the channel grow, that is a way to help out. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what you guys think of you know, the special memories that you have for video games, and I want to hear them. I want to hear them. I want to see what got you guys, what choked you up, what made you guys emotional. And I do like having these longer talks, so I do want to at least have maybe like one video a week go along like this. But anyway, I'm rambling. Guys, I just want to say thank you very much for watching the whole entire video, and I appreciate you sticking around and all the support that you've given me. Deuces.